I think as a woman in the industry, it was really being able to say no to things, being able to stand up for myself and have hard conversations when I wasn't comfortable with something.
I love that.
And I think that it's a really wonderful place to be in, but it doesn't happen overnight. And I think a lot of actors in general and people in the industry can relate, but I think for me, the growth really came when I put my foot down in a situation and I was like, I'm not comfortable with this. And I don't care what percentage you're taking, I'm not doing this, and in one aspect, it cost me a job, and it cost me a really big job, but my worth and value and morals were stronger than that paycheck.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Inspire to Inspire podcast, the place where actors, filmmakers, and content creators can tune in and just learn how to connect the dots within their own journey. Today, we got a really dope guest. I'm stoked. I've been trying to get here on the episode for a few weeks now, but everybody got busy schedules and we all making power moves, so you gotta give some respect. So today, we got Veronika Dash.
Hello, guys.
She's actually born in the Ukraine, okay? Veronika Dash has been seen on all kinds of different TV shows, CSI, Vegas, when it comes to Lucifer. She even has a movie called Youth that she was a beast in. You've seen her probably in Cadillac Records. I don't know. I can keep throwing out all kinds of, credits. But I know over the years, you've been working. And it's really actually dope, too, when I did my research on you, right? I was like, damn. This girl has been working since 2008.
She's been at it.
2008,
Yep.
You've been doing your thing.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So, first of all, you're from the Ukraine. You speak English, you speak Russian, and you speak Italian.
Yes.
Okay, so how did the whole process even come from? You come from Ukraine to LA, want to become an actress, the whole nine.
I always think about this actually, if my parents didn't immigrate from Kiev, where I was born, Ukraine, to America, would I be an actress? Would I be a creative? Would I be a performer? And I don't know. Maybe I would be an Eastern European actress, and then I'd be on your podcast and I'd have a Russian accent. I don't know. But yeah, they came when I was about 2 years old. So I grew up in New York, and I think my first love of performing came from the theater, aka school plays.
The theater of
Yes,
Julia
the
Hart.
theater. And I used to go to Broadway shows all the time and off-Broadway shows.
Vibes.
And I was just so moved by the performers and also how they affected the audience and how, they make us feel all these emotions, and we leave the theater and there's just so much chatter. And everyone has different takeaways and experiences and emotions. And I just I fell in love with it. And I'm happy that my parents made me speak Russian at home.
I love that.
I was not always a fan, let me tell you. My mom would come pick me up from school, and, she'd bring cookies or something, and she would take me, on the side and speak Russian to me. And I would tell her to be quiet because it's really embarrassing.
Really?
Yeah, because I was different. And no one in my school spoke Russian, and it felt very kind of
foreign.
Yeah, and when you're growing up, you want to be like everyone else. You want to be cool. You want to fit in. You want to have the white bread with the bologna sandwiches. And I had very interesting Eastern European cuisine, like liverwurst. So if you could imagine what that looks like, it's not very appeling aesthetically to the eye when you're 10 years old.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then in terms of Italian, I've just always loved the language. I've always loved Italian cinema, Italian music, Italian fashion. So I studied it in school, and then I studied it in college after. And I went to Italy, actually. Instead of having a Sweet 16, my parents took me there for an entire month. So I missed school for a good while.
No, but that's dope.
I brought back lots of souvenirs for everyone,
Yeah.
so no one was mad.
No, I think that's fire, because I love the fact that like your family kept you so well-rounded.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
being well-rounded, I feel like gives you so many characteristics, traits to be able to adapt, right?
Yeah.
And you already know, being in Hollywood, being in LA, you gotta be adaptable.
Oh,
you gotta
absolutely.
be able to adjust, and for a little bit, you know, for me, for a while, you know, I used to kind of feel like almost like a circus monkey, like, yeah, I can do this, yeah, I can do that, yeah, I can do this, you know. So throughout your journey as an actress, you know, being required to, you know, be able to do X, Y, and Z here, X, Y, and Z there, where do you feel like your lane is in terms of like your vision, in terms of like how you want to continue to be perceived as an actress and type of roles you want to do, you know?
I think that's a great question. I think that, you know, we always have a vision of what we want, and then there's what the world puts on us. And so I think, you know, typecasting is a real thing, and sometimes if you look a certain way, it's very likely you're going to continue booking those roles unless you do the work to show that you can do other things.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I am theatrically trained. I've done Shakespeare, I've done, you know, dramas, and I get cast in comedy, I think, because my energy as a person is so
It's bright.
bubbly and
yeah, your
bright.
bubbly energy.
And some would say funny.
She walks in the room, she's like, "What's up, yo?" It's hella cool. Everybody's like, "Oh, B's here."
Right, but I
love
think, you know, what makes an artist interesting is that dichotomy of like what the world sees and then actually the depth of what you have to offer.
1000%.
So I, in short, kind of want to do everything, but the roles that I'm attracted to most, I think, are more on like a darker, dramatic, three-dimensional side. I think comedy is very difficult, and that's by no means to say that comedy is easy, but I think it comes a little more naturally to me in terms of like how my personality is.
I feel that.
You know?
I feel that. I love that because I had saw one of your scenes in your reel, and it was like you had like this dog's barking over here.
I love dogs.
One more time. Come on, I know you're gonna bark. One more time. One more time. Just get it out. There we go.
Oh, he's like the little poodle guy.
Yeah, he sees that poodle.
It
it's
is
a
war.
rat. They want to cause fades. Like, this dog is ready for war. Okay, so what I was gonna say is I love the fact that like you're like, look, I know what my lane is, I know what I want to do, but I remember watching this clip in your trailer, right, in your reel, and you're like this phone booth, and it's like this like greenish kind of vibe, and you're speaking full Russian, and
Ты меня больше никогда не увидишь. Ты меня никогда не найдешь. Ты все испортил. Я надеюсь, что я буду далеко от тебя.
I was like, yo, Veronika got some chops on her, man. Like, this is like, it's so dope seeing that realm, because for me, like, I'm so used to the bright, bubbly energy, you know.
Totally.
It's just very approachable,
Yeah.
make everybody feel loved and appreciated. But then, like, you know, she's in a situation, this character now is speaking full-blown Russian, and I'm like, all right, this is such a dope side to see. So that's more like the realm you like, when it's like that dark, gritty type of vibe, right? It's more like
Yeah, I think it's because it's so disassociated from who I am that makes it more fun to
those are
tap.
the best roles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are the best.
Right? That's like what actors want to do. They want to transform. They don't just want to play the trophy wife or like the
Especially.
cheerleader.
Yes.
Like, we love it, but also there's all these other gamuts you can explore. You know, if you have the training and you have the chops and you do the workshops and, you know, all the things. And what's interesting about the scene you're referencing is it's this film I did, it's actually not even out yet, but
Okay.
I forced him to give me that scene.
That footage.
And it is my first take.
Okay,
It is
I
my
love
first
it.
and only take.
I love that.
So,
Y'all must have to been on a rush that day then.
oh yeah, it was guerrilla
Yeah,
filming
yeah,
101.
yeah, okay.
Absolutely. And it was
Already
like
know
freezing outside, and you just kind of use, you use everything in the scene. And we wrapped it. And he's like, all right, we gotta go, we gotta move.
I love that though. Those are like some of my favorite moments though, where it's like what you're actually doing is completely different than when somebody's looking at you. You're like,
Oh,
no,
absolutely.
you don't understand. It was so cold that day, and I'm in like no shirt right now, or barely in any clothes. And I'm like, this shit is like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
here's what's cool. So your journey, you started working. I say in what 2008.
Yeah, I think that was my first like IMDb credit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question is this: like over the years, right, as you've evolved as an actress, what are some of the things that like you struggle with, and how did you like overcome that? How did you evolve into who you feel like you are now versus then?
I feel like everyone in general is a work in progress, no matter where you are in your journey. And I think there's something kind of nice about that, because you never really reach a place of comfort, in the sense of like you can always learn something new. You can always grow a little more. You can always try something new. You could always learn a new language, learn a new accent. And I think that for me in particular, I think as a woman in the industry, it was really being able to say no to things, being able to stand up for myself and have hard conversations when I wasn't comfortable with something.
I love that.
And I think that it's a really wonderful place to be in, but it doesn't happen overnight. And I think a lot of actors in general and people in the industry can relate, but I think for me, the growth really came when I like put my foot down in a situation and I was like, I'm not comfortable with this. And I don't care what percentage you're taking, I'm not doing this, and in one aspect, it cost me a job, and it cost me a really big job, but my worth and value and morals were stronger than that paycheck.
And I love that, because in Hollywood, majority of the time, it's reversed.
Oh yeah.
It's reversed.
And I don't want to have nightmares.
Yeah, and being
know.
able to, like you said, sleep at night, being able to have a peace of mind.
Yeah.
And I love you sharing the story, right? Because it's something I wanted to dive into, just in terms of you being a woman in the industry, you've been working over the course of years, but at the end of the day, as actors, I can truthfully say that the women really have a different experience, than the men do, and some of those experiences have to do with just simply saying no. Right?
Yeah.
Saying like, hey, I'm not cool with this. I know that like this might be an idea or whatever, but like I'm not cool with this. And having value for yourself. Sometimes I feel like if you go about it in a respectful way, but you having value for yourself and being like, hey, look, it cost me a job. This thing is not worth my sanity. Like, I'm gonna look back 3-4 years from now and be like, shit. And that feeling is like,
right.
But my question is this: is after you said no to that job, did something bigger come after that?
Yeah. And what's funny is
that's how it usually works. That's why I asked.
Absolutely.
Isn't that the craziest shit?
It is, but it feels like so aligned, because when that went down, it was kind of traumatizing, because it was like I was supposed to start shooting Monday. My birthday was on the Tuesday. I didn't plan any birthdays because I was like, I'll be on set, y'all. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, he's working.
And, I got a call on Sunday from my agent. And I was like getting a pedicure. And she was like, I have some bad news. And I was like, here we go. I already knew what it was. But that also caused me to change up my team, which is also essential to your growth.
Absolutely.
Like sometimes it's hard to send that email and have that conversation of like, I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
And sometimes they won't accept it.
Yeah.
And you got to do what you got to do. And it's like,
that was so hard for me to do the first time. Like, still to this day, my first agent, we're still cool, which is great.
Yeah.
But I remember sending that email, and I was like, damn, like, this is the guy that I feel like, that gave me my first shot, that signed me. You know, I was signed with them for 6 years.
Yeah.
Was able to book my first big show, but it's like it gets to a point in life and career where it's like if the people on your team aren't prioritizing you, it only affects you. It doesn't affect them because they have a multitude of clients that they're working from, they're working for, they're making money off of. But it's like if they're not prioritizing you, not everybody's on the same island, it really hurts you, you know? And having to send that email, this is something I really want a lot of just actors, just in general, just to really understand. If your management or your agent is not on the same island, you need to really have some deep thinking, because it's very important for me, I know for you, to have a good relationship. Me and my team can go have a drink, go have dinner. We've actually been to Coachella together. You know what
that's
I'm saying?
awesome.
But they're still like on their shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I love that you're like, yo, I have to just let this person go, because you get to a level in your career where it's like, come on. And
you have to elevate if you want to elevate, you know, and
yeah.
it's like otherwise you kind of stay in this same field, and if you're not happy, you have to change it up, and it's not always easy.
Yeah.
But in the end, like you said, something better came up, and I was like, let's go.
I love that. So when it comes to rejection and you getting the no's, or you getting how can I say, essentially typecast for certain things where there's like, no, I should be good for this. Like, how was your process of dealing with that? Did you ever feel like you wanted to step away from it? Did you ever feel like you wanted to do something else, or you just kind of kept trekking along and said, nah, I'm gonna figure this out?
You know, I don't know where this energy of like sticking with the plan A comes from, but it's been unwavering for me personally. And I even had a friend say to me recently, like, I don't know how you do it. Like, I don't know how you go out for these like huge things, right? And like you're so close to the thing that changes your life, and then
you don't get it.
Jennifer Lawrence gets it, or whoever, you know? And then you're like back to square one, essentially, right? Yeah. But I think that there comes a time, and I feel like maybe Bryan Cranston talks about this in an interview, where it's like you just have to understand that it isn't personal. And also being on the other side of the camera, like I help a lot of my filmmaker friends cast and produce things, and there really are incredible talent in front of you, and it's not any one of them can do an amazing job, and it'll come down to something very, very minute that you can't even sometimes explain. So it's like you kind of have to have that understanding in the back of your mind where it isn't personal, and therefore you cannot take it personally. My job is to go in there or self-tape nowadays, right? Is to create something that's authentic, that's in the moment, that is fun given the circumstances, and just create something and then move on.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think like as a young actor, you kind of like harbor on like, oh, I should have done this, I should have said this, I should have whatever. But it's like you can't change that. What you can change is how you approach the next thing.
Absolutely.
You know?
You want to win your auditions. You want to win. You know, I don't even like to call them auditions anymore. I call them opportunities. You know,
exactly.
Self-tapes, like,
I love that.
My godfather, Obabatunde, he's a really well-known actor, but, you know, he's really just helped me out in so many ways in terms of, like, just my career over the years, right? With coaching and all kinds of things. And, you know, his thing that he always definitely say is like, yo, it's not about how long you've been alive, it's about how long you've been paying attention, right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing the work, if you're taking a step back and you're like, all right, you know what, like, let me just dedicate time to this craft. Let me just double down on what I'm doing. The no's, I got to realize, is part of the process.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and part of that process is weeding out the weak, you know? Because it really hits, too, once you get a testing deal.
Yep.
You get the offer. Yep. You see the numbers, the season deals, you know, and then something happens, whatever, you know. So what I always love about actors is like just the confidence to continue to stay in this shit.
Yeah.
It's the craziest shit.
It's the craziest thing.
Like over the years, like think about the amount of rapid changes that has happened over the years. We're talking about this before, right? And it's like from social media not even existing to social media now to where you used to have to walk in, give a headshot to where that's not even a thing now.
Nope.
You're having director sessions over your cell phone.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
So when it comes to your personal life, right? How do you feel like your work affects things with like your relationship and like just things that you want to do separately from it? Do you feel like you have a good balance on that? And if so, like, how do you feel like you obtain the balance? Because you have a fiance. Shout out to Andrew. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But so look, you're about to get married. You've been in the game for a few years. You're on the back end with doing projects, with producing and developing and writing as well. So in the process of all your busyness, like, what's your routine, your formula to keep yourself sane and just to keep yourself balanced in all this?
I think part of it really, I think it's so important to kind of check your surroundings, check who you're with, who you're spending the most time with, you know, who are the people who are the naysayers and who are the people who are passionate and actually doing things. Because sometimes people can get in this, you know, rut of someone complaining about, I didn't get this because so-and-so. I'm never going to get this because the industry is changing. I'm never going to get this. But what if you change the narrative and you're like, okay, I didn't get this because whatever, but that's okay. You know why? Because I have all these other things I'm working on, and all these other things I want to accomplish. And so I think that who you surround yourself with is very important in any industry, but especially in this industry of, you know, just wanting to be successful, but also cheering on the people around you. It's like when you do book a huge thing, like who are the people who are supporting you, you know, versus the people who are like radio silent. And you're like, that's interesting.
And then they just pop up.
Yeah, then they pop up in your DM and you're like, what's up?
Yeah.
But I think in terms of like sanity, and I feel like this is such a 2022 thing, but like self-care is a big thing. I meditate. I swear by meditations, and
same.
It's really it's changed my life in so many ways because we're in a very go world, and also I'm from New York. That's like in my DNA,
my mentality.
You know, and just like having those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, to just center yourself, to just ground yourself and say like, what is it that I want to accomplish today? What am I feeling? You know, what is my vibe? And like, how can I carry something positive into this day no matter what comes at me? And also, I leave room for fun.
See, I love that. And
I love to have fun, honestly.
And that's the thing. It's like I'm a big fan of like chasing joy.
Yeah.
Right? And when I say chasing joy, I align that with chasing energy, and it's meaning in every moment of the day, I like to surround myself with just joyful energy. Even if I'm by myself, if I'm with good friends, if I'm with people I'm collaborating with, even my girl, like the energy has to feel joyful because I feel like when it puts me in a lighter spirit, I'm at my best.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to the meditation thing, you know, I've really been learning this concept, but it's like, I've learned that, you know, prayer is you talking to God, but meditation is how God talks to you.
I love that.
You know? So, because you're putting yourself in a position to now receive and allow just to be like, all right, when I got to meditate, when I close my eyes, when I do these breathing exercises, I find myself noticing the difference between passing thoughts and ideas. So it helps me categorize things in my own head, in my brain now. So I'm like, all right, like if I'm feeling anxious, if I'm feeling stressed out, taking that 10 minutes just to be like, yo, all right, I'm going to go to the breathing app. I'm going to put on 10 minutes and just breathe and just focus on pure breath. A lot of the times I'll come out that meditation looking at the situation just like a lot more at ease in terms of like, all right, even though I feel like this is like a big complicated thing, I now feel more at ease on taking step by step to get through this, you know, and
absolutely
doing what you do, you know. So that's why I love that you brought up the meditation. We've been talking about this every episode, you know, like, I swear, because it's crucial. You'll literally lose your mind.
Yeah, and
you know?
I always think about this. You know, when you see like someone arguing at a grocery store over something really stupid.
Yeah.
Or like someone cuts you off and they're like, I'm driving here. And you're like, I bet you if this person meditated for 5 minutes every day, you wouldn't react that way.
At all. It's an autopilot mentality.
Yep.
You know? And I feel like that's the difference between like leaders and bosses. It's like, you know, over the years, I love how you move, right? I always see you positioning yourself for magic to happen, right? Like you're always with like good people. We always run into each other at random places, but it's like people we both know.
Yes.
It's like, oh, your friend's a Christian. Oh, that's my boy. Well, this is your boy. Well, hey, you work with Darren. Well, his manager's my boy. Like, and it's just like it's always like a good frequency. It's like a reflection of that person.
Yes,
you know?
absolutely.
And you talking about like, yo, you gotta have good people around you because I've seen what can happen to a person when you have a bunch of yes men around you, right?
Totally.
Nick Ritchie was one of my other guests on the episode. He was talking about how it's important to keep yourself tethered. When you have good friends, they can either help you from falling on your face or help you just from like doing too much. It's kind of like, yo, pull back. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? And with you now, you know, in the process of doing these shows, you're working, you're doing print campaigns, you're on billboards in Hollywood right now as we speak on another print campaign, right? So, yeah, is there anything that you're focused on in the back end, like in terms of like writing, directing, producing? What's up, everyone? This episode was sponsored by the Infinity Energy. Make sure to go to infinityenergy.com and get the energy from within. It is a tea-based natural energy shot with B and C vitamins inside of it. Again, it's a natural tea-based energy shot with no bullshit, won't make you jittery. Make sure to go to infinity.com and enter my promo code DOMSPerspective. Get you a box, man.
So it's very funny that you asked me that because yes, I've actually always been a writer in a sense. I used to win like poetry awards and essay scholarships, and then there comes a point where you're like, oh, well, I don't know how to do that type of writing, so that scares me. And then you kind of put it away, and you're like, one day I'll do that. But I was writing down what I wanted to manifest this year.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to write a TV show.
Badass.
And I have read a million scripts. Have I taken like specific screenwriting, pilot writing, Bible writing, the pilot Bible classes? No. But I can totally do this. Yeah. And it's funny because I wrote my first short last year, and it was like for the Soho Film Festival, and I was hitting up all of my writer friends. I was like, hey, is this format right? Is this funny? Does this make sense? And they were like, oh, this is like pretty good. And then it ended up like getting in like the top 20 of this thing, and then they ended up making only the top 10. But I was like, I think I have like some untapped.
It gave you confidence.
Yeah.
Gave you belief, like, I can actually do this.
And I think that without taking that first step, you're never going to be able to accomplish anything because you're just going to have that fear block you from taking it. And so Andrew and I are actually in the process of writing a short, primarily for material, like we were saying. How do you get out of like the typecast box, right? It's like showing people, casting directors, producers, what you're capable of.
And so they haven't seen either.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the phone booth thing, right? My friend wrote that knowing what I can do, knowing I speak the language.
Love
and
that.
So we've kind of been developing this short just as like almost like a thesis for ourselves and for our own craft, to see how far we could go, where can we take it, how creative can we be. And I think the more you do it, the more confidence you get in anything.
Absolutely.
And I've been shadowing some producers also on sets because I think I'm a creative producer. Yeah. I'm good at like connecting people and remembering like, oh, this person is a great actor. He'd be good for this role. Or this person's great on, with whatever. But I've never done like fiscal monetary budgeting. And I think
it's a different type of producing, though.
Absolutely.
That type of producing, I like getting my numbers guys because that's what they do.
Absolutely.
I'll find the right numbers guy.
Yeah.
Type of producing. I'll find all the pieces, and then the actual jobs. You guys are better than me at those things, so that's why you're here.
Let them do their thing.
Exactly.
But we spoke to one of our good friends who's like a very successful, Oscar-winning producer, and he said that exactly. But then when we asked him, like, well, you know how to like do, you know, hot budgets and all this, and he's like, yeah, absolutely. And so I think learning the fundamentals of anything can only be of use to you. And then you let whoever is the professional do the rest.
Absolutely. But,
you know, I want to be able to like look at a budget and understand, oh, like we can take money from there. We can add money here. And if only I could do that with my own shopping.
It comes with it comes with the experience though, because I remember I graduated from LA Film School back in like 2013, right? And this is a trade school. I didn't want to go to like a 4-year university.
Yeah.
I had scholarships. I had 4 rides at UCSB, UCSD, Indiana for different sports. But long story short, I decided to go to LA Film School, and I like the fact that for the first 6 months before we decided on like what we want to like really focus on and major in and like tap into, we tried everything on set. Just because we needed to all be in a position to know a little bit about everything so we can have the conversation.
Absolutely.
So if I need to talk to my gaffers about something, I need to talk to my DP, if I need to talk to the first AD, if I need to go and talk to sound, if I need to go talk to the second AD, like I know enough of everything to have a conversation and get the job done. Yeah. But that only comes with like the experience, right?
Absolutely.
And with you and Andrew right now creating like these shorts, I think it's so valuable because even with my own projects, right? I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm in the lab. I'm just writing, developing, doing storyboarding, working this whole package and process together. But it's to ultimately showcase what I feel like I haven't gotten a chance to show yet. Right. Now, for you as a woman, and even just me, but I want to say as a woman, I know that a lot of times in the industry, I don't feel this way, but I know, again, how you said the world tries to put things on you. I feel like the industry tries to give women a window. Yeah. Like a box, like, okay, you only have this X amount of time. Right. And if you're not, once you hit this point, then we're going to go to the next. And it's like, right. You know, you watch these shows, you know, by like Issa Rae or, you know, Lena Dunham, who are these completely different shows or completely different characters, right? But they're like, you know what? I'm just going to write my own shit. Right. And I'm going to put myself in a position to win to where that can't even be like a option anymore, right? So is that your intention? Is that why? Because that's why I respect that. I love that.
It's funny that you mentioned Issa. I think that was like one of my aha moments where I was like, I loved the show, because it was so relatable and it was these girls having fun, but their struggles and relationships. And, you know, everyone has their own unique story. Yeah. And I think it was right around the time like Rami came out also, and he has his background and incorporates that with his family, which I'm like, I have so many of those like with my Ukrainian background. And then, you know, Fleabag came out and I was like, yes, girl, like swept the Emmys. Yeah. And it just kind of makes you think of like what people relate to is original stories, because those stories can't be retold in that same way. Yes. They're so unique.
They're authentic, first of all. Yes. And that's first of all, that's acting and filmmaking at its finest.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I love that. Yeah. So is that what you guys are more focused on? Are you developing stories more so around like your background in Ukraine, or what's the vibe?
Sort of. Like? It's kind of like, you know, what it feels like to grow up in a place that you consider home, but it doesn't feel like home when you're growing up, because you're also foreign. Yeah. You know, and I think for me it was so conflicting, because when I went back to my mother country, I was also foreign there. Yeah. Because it's been such a long time. I didn't grow up there. Yeah. You know, and I have different. I sound different, I dress different, maybe I even look different. So it was such a weird identity crisis. Right? Because you're like, well, here I'm identified as this Ukrainian American, because I'm not actually American. But then you go back to your country and they're like, you American. And you're like, what am I? But I think within that, there's also a lot of comedy and heart with all, you know, the drama and the roller coasters.
Well, that's what they say. You know, a lot of comedians say that their comedy comes from like them being broken. Oh, absolutely. You know, their comedy comes from their pain, you know? And I actually wanted to lead into this topic. I'm so glad you brought up identity, right? Because, you know, I feel like most people might come across you and might assume like, oh, she's probably been like this her whole life. Mm-hmm. What was your life like, and how were you like this when you were a kid? Like, or how did you grow up from young Veronika to now Veronika? Were you always like smiling and outgoing, and or like how did that person grow into now? You know what I'm saying?
I think that's a great question. I recently I did an interview for my friend Fredo, and he asked me to dig up some home footage. Mm-hmm. And these are things that I haven't seen in a very long time. And some of them were like my first storytelling contest, where I was like in front of my whole school performing a book. And I'm literally in the third grade, and I'm just on the stage with this mic, with my Brooklyn accent, telling this story.
I love that.
So there was an element of like the outgoing personality that was always a thing. Mm-hmm. But I think the confidence in identity, in like being who you are and not trying to be like everybody else, mm-hmm. that I think has changed in a way.
Like what?
I think just even something as small as like your sense of style, right? Like growing up, I always wanted to like dress like all the other kids. Like if they had Gap sweaters, I was like, Mom, I want a Gap sweater, right? But now I could just like wear whatever I want, mm-hmm. and like do whatever I want,
and not, be like
not because
else.
Someone else is doing it, or not because someone else thinks it's cool. Mm-hmm. And in a way, it's funny because you influence other people. You're almost like the trendsetter in some regard.
No, it's 1,000 what it is.
So it kind of like flipped the narrative.
Absolutely.
When you could just like embrace who you are and stop trying so hard to be everybody else, because they're all taken. There's literally only one of you.
I love that, because even for me, growing up mixed, right? For a lot of time, like a lot of situations, I'll be told I wasn't black enough, or that like I would be with the white people and I'll be the black guy. Like it was just weird. I was always like
so
in this
weird.
Like mix,
so
like,
weird.
Like with this group and this group, right? And for the longest, I used to kind of feel like, okay, where do I belong? Like where do I go, right?
Yeah.
And it had to have this own understanding of like, oh, I belong wherever I am, meaning like I'm here. So if I'm here, like I can belong on both sides, because I'm black, but I'm also Middle Eastern, and I can go kick with all the Lebanese and Armenians, and I go kick with the Latinos and whatever. But it's like I understand both that kind. I'm not saying that anybody can't do that, but I started understanding uniqueness in myself. Like, oh, I may not be like you, but the reason why I'm like me is so I can maybe bring someone like you and somebody like this together.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, fast forward, you're now in the process of writing these projects. You're now in the process of putting things out. Did you feel like in these projects you're creating, are you implementing ideas of identity issues into what you're doing, or anything like mental health wise, in terms of like things you struggle with to your writing? Or
I think so. I mean, I think it's interesting because some people write from experience, and some people write purely from imagination. Yeah. And I find that the most interesting way for me is to combine the two, because you don't just want to relive your life or relive your traumas.
Absolutely.
But you want to plant a seed that could maybe help somebody else who's dealing with the same things.
1,000%.
And, you know, I help with this. I'm an ambassador for this charity, Buddha Bullying, and sometimes we'll go to schools and we'll talk to the kids, and you know, I'll ask them like, does anyone here get bullied? And a lot of kids will raise their hands, and I'm like, does anyone here, you know, speak another language? And they'll raise their hand, and I'll be like, has anyone ever like commented on, you know, whatever language you speak? Has that been like a topic of conversation? And they would say, yeah, like people would make fun of me for it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, you know, guess what? Cut to nowadays, I get to use that in my work. I get to talk to other people from this country. Like today, actually, at this event I was at, 2 girls came up to me and they were like, we're from Ukraine, we're such big fans, and like, you know, thank you for like speaking about these topics, and you know, we're really inspired by that. But if I had hid that part of my personality or life, then that would never have come to light, or give other people, you know, the encouragement to do the same. So I think writing can be very therapeutic, but also very creative. You know,
Yeah.
you could do whatever you want. You can make up any story.
Yeah.
You know, and it can have just like a little seed of your dynamic with your parents, right? But it also could be completely different, and that's okay too.
You know, I actually struggled with that for a while when I was trying to find my voice in my writing. You know, as you know, when you write, that's your voice. Like, you're speaking so loud through, not only through a story, but through characters and moments, right?
Yeah.
And I found myself, like, I remember when I first started trying to figure out, like, what I want to write about. I was too much imagination.
Yeah.
Because then I started going off on ideas and writing things that I didn't really know about. And I was like, damn, this shit don't connect. There's a loophole in this.
Yeah.
All right, I got to, you know. And then I would start, you know, writing, like, about the reality of certain things. But then I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't put them on blast.
Right.
Maybe I shouldn't put their shit out there like that. So how do I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can get these characters and just put this in this different world, different names, whatever. But then now you start to play with the imagination. Like you said, it's kind of like okay, let me get here and here. But I feel like you get that through experience, you know, and I feel like some of my best stories have come through my failures. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
By, you know, having to consistently strive for new manifestations, you know. So when I think back about anything I want to write about or anything that anybody wants to write about, I always encourage people to, like, take a step back and think about the past 4 years of your life. Where were you at and where you at now?
Yeah.
You're either going to be going up or going down.
That's
And
a good way to look at it.
either way,
Yeah.
it's a story arc. You take 4 years.
Yeah.
What were you doing 4 years ago? Are you doing better? Then what the hell happened between that 4 years?
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing worse, what decisions caused you to go left?
Right.
And then now what are you going to do to get out of that?
Yeah, I love that.
You know?
It's funny
like-
because I feel like it also kind of correlates to acting, right? Because some actors draw from experience.
Yeah.
And some people use the as if, right? Because if you've never been in that position, how could you write about it? But you could.
Yeah.
If you've never been in that situation, how could you be that character? But you could, right? So that's kind of like where our artistic juices are flowing, because you can create these things that may not have been done before.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm just always fascinated by J.K. Rowling. Like,
J.K. is
how
a
did
beast.
she create
She's
Harry
a
Potter?
beast, yeah.
How
Honestly,
did she do it?
you know what? When you hear her story,
Yeah. And it's fascinating.
Yes.
It all happened on a little napkin.
I know.
And here we are. There's Hogwarts World at Universal Studios. And there was a 3-hour wait the last time I went.
you know, and to me, I think, here, for example, J.K. Rowling, right? Everybody knows where she first started, wasn't doing shit, honestly. Wasn't really being noticed. And I love the fact that she wrote a whole concept about a world that she never experienced, but had so many life experiences and
Yes.
life messages in there that's like, it's life.
Powerful.
And I feel like those become the best written moments. So it doesn't matter how old you are, but it gets to a point when you experience enough life and like downfalls and you're at your low, sometimes those becomes your best stories, because that's where mine came from.
Yeah.
When I was at my lowest point, I remember one year it was a New Year's party. It's going to brand new year. We're at Yamashiro. All my friends are partying, and I'm just having this like epiphany, like, yo, what do I want to create? I feel like for the longest time I want to talk about my life, and I feel like, you know, what's been going on in my life needs to like be showcased somehow. Not like a party way, right? To keep it short and sweet, I realized, I'm like, wow, everywhere you go in Hollywood, everyone puts on a personality mask. Everyone acts like everything is going great. And half the time I talk to people, shit is fucked up. There's so much fucked up like shit going on. They have issues with the girl or friends, or this person happened. There's so much shit going on, but you're acting, you're carrying yourself like everything is perfect. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I feel like, so I started taking a lot of my own personal moments, and I included that, you know. But with you talking about how you're like, yo, I go and talk to kids about bullying. I talk to these girls and these other kids that are like, yo, if you speak your language, don't feel separated or feel different from who you are, but apply that to your uniqueness, and that's why actually get you more opportunity.
Yeah.
When it comes to like, how can I say, like your family, like were they against you becoming an actress and when they go into the world and like
no,
they were actually like super cool about it?
They were super cool about it, which I think is, so amazing. But so my father used to be a professional soccer player, football player, and he played for a team called Dynamo Kiev, which was the best team in Ukraine. And he's just always said that some of his favorite moments of his whole life were on that field, and how it felt for him every morning to wake up and to love what he did. And then he got into a skiing accident. He had knee surgery and he couldn't play anymore. And I think part of that story has always made him be like to his children, you guys should do what you love, because I got to feel how that felt and I want you guys to feel that too. And, I started acting and modeling as a kid, and then I stopped because they had to take time from work and it was like just chaos. But they were like, when you get older, if you still want to do it, then do it. But, you're going to have to do it yourself. You're going to have to pay for your classes, and you're going to have to commute to the city and do those workshops. And, we'll support you, but you're going to have to do the work. And I think part of that made me realize, like, A, how difficult it was. And B, that, if I do get success, I also kind of did it from nothing. And I think that's like a very beautiful achievement, because it's, it's easy to accomplish things when you have everyone helping you, or you have, nepotism or whatever it is. Yeah. But I think just someone saying like, I support what you do, and that being enough to be a driving factor of like, yeah, this is what makes me feel most whole or most happy. And, like I went to a technical high school. I went to a math and science high school where you had to have, specific grades on a test to even get accepted. And at one point, I still don't even know how this happened, but my average was 102.7. I have this report card.
Yeah, I would have cheated off you.
Huh? Oh yeah, everyone always cheated off me.
I would have been copying.
Y'all know who you are. But I really, it was like being like a 15-year-old. Like, what do I do with my life? Do I go into law? Do I go do this? And like, I'm good at math and I'm good at science and I'm good at history. But all I cared about was like play practice after school. Like that's what I looked forward to, and I just kind of took that and ran with it. I was like, that's what makes me happy. That's what makes me feel most like myself.
Yeah. I always tell people, I feel like when I'm on set, right? I feel like I'm breathing, but I also understand the flip side of the coin too. When I talk to some of my other castmates who've even been working longer than me, done bigger projects, and I always think it's interesting when I hear them say like, after a while, like every project kind of takes a little bit out of you. And I'm not really in the space to fully, I understand it, but not relate.
Right.
Because I feel like, every time I do a project, it gives me something. I leave better. I leave smarter, wiser, stronger than the person that walked in.
Yeah.
But I started learning the flip side of the coin. It's like after a certain while, when you're at the mercy to somebody's yes for the rest of your life, and you're just doing this project, it's kind of like you're always kind of not able to just create or use your voice, or you're always like it's that's why I feel like people can lose themselves. People can
totally
suicide, they mental health wise, they don't have good people around. So I love that, again, that you as a leader, you as a woman, and just as a spirit, right? Because I believe that we're just spiritual beings and physical bodies in the
I mean,
day,
we
right?
literally are.
Literally.
We're just balls of energy.
That's all it is. And I appreciate, you know, the energy you always bring, because I can tell that you're walking lead by example, and you're showing what it takes to manifest your opportunities, but then to put in the work. Because all I heard today was like, yeah, I went here, I did this, I studied here, I did this, I dealt with that. So fast forward, now people see you manifesting things and posting pictures on your IG on this billboard. This show's coming out. Now you got this movie. It's like there's a process to becoming that person. But it's like, you know, I appreciate how you carry yourself, because it's such a positive role model as just to women. And I want more women just in general just to look up to women like you and just doing the work, because not everyone wants to do that, men and women. Just do the work, trust the process, make the process fun.
Yes.
And trust that whatever is meant for you won't be missed, you know?
Yeah, I think surround yourself, like we talked about earlier, surround yourself with good people and stay creative. And I think that, you know, I've been on sets where you can tell some of the people are at the end of their, you know, charisma with the career they've chosen. And I'm always like like I wish I could sit down with them and just be like, what is going on here? You're a lead of a show that's been on for, you know, and so I totally understand what you're referring to, but it's also like when I'm in those situations, I'm like, no offense, but I will never be like that. I will be the person on the set that knows their shit, knows their line, treats the co-star just as good as I treat the series regular. I know everybody's name and I treat everyone with respect, and I don't think I'm better than anybody.
It really matters, because I'm not gonna talk about what project, whatever, but same thing. I've been on a set where the number one didn't set the positive tone for everybody, and the process of working with them
makes it very difficult and not fun.
Unenjoyable.
It's not enjoyable.
It's not. And so you learn what not to do.
Yes.
I think it's just as important, you know, because again, we're gonna be in those positions to where you're number one. As soon as you walk on the set, everybody's like, what's up? Yeah. You know? So
yeah, you do. You set the tone, you set that energy. And like, if you feel like this work is draining you or taking something out of you, everyone else feels it too, trust me. Like, we all get the vibe. And yeah, it's just, it puts everyone in a place of like not creativity. It's like quite the antithesis of your like, when is this going to be over? And you don't, it doesn't have to be that way, you know? And also if you're over it, that's fine, but move on, and then someone else can take your job and do just fine.
And that happens all the fucking time.
You know?
Straight up. So do you have anything coming up that you want to mention, you want to talk about, that you're working on? What's going on? I wrapped
a film at the end of last year called Isabel's Garden.
Okay.
And I played a really fun character named Rebecca. And they're in the process of editing and, you know, doing the whole like festival route and stuff. But I just had such a fun time on that set. It's like a cute little independent film, but it's also about like women. It's empowering women, and it's like my character when she's first introduced, you know, there's like a slow-mo shot of her, and like the main protagonist hates her because she thinks she's gonna like steal her job. But in the end, you realize like they're all just after the same thing, and they're not competition to one another. Wow. And, you know, they end up actually working on something together to elevate both of them, both of their positions.
That's real shit, though. That's how it actually is. You know, a lot just compete with yourself and not everybody else, and then you end up helping out the whole squad. And
I loved it. It's a female director, and she also wrote it, and it was just like such a fun experience. So I don't know when that's coming out yet, but hopefully soon, so I can share.
Honestly, that was another thing I brought on this podcast. I was like, being an actor, a filmmaker, the in between process is always the most like crazy. Oh yeah, right. Yeah. It's like we do a project and it's like shit.
You just never know. Come
out and you're like, fuck. All right, if ever, it's gonna come out in a year. 6 months, 2 years, 3, 5, all right, whatever. Yeah. I'm glad you're coming out. But you know what I'm saying?
It's like boyhood, like 13 years later.
Literally, you know, it's just always like funny how that shit happens. But I know that you also do a lot of your own content creation in terms of like your own brand, your own like Well, you have your own brand in terms of how you market yourself.
Yeah.
But then do you have your own brand in terms of anything you're doing outside of that?
Not at the moment. It's definitely something I've talked to my manager about. I'm just like passionate about so many things, beauty things, like beauty space and
You'll kill the makeup
fashion.
world. What are you doing? Why don't you put out your own makeup line or something? You would kill that
I
way.
think that it's on my bucket list. It's on my to-do list. I think that timing is everything in a lot of respects, and I think that that's something I will absolutely, hopefully, get the opportunity to do because it's such a passion of mine. And I feel like up until now, a lot of things I've written on that list have been checked off, which is very cool. But it's like that list grows every year too.
I feel that.
I
feel that. I understand.
So that's definitely on there. I love fashion. I would love to have like some sort of either collab with, a brand I love, or just being able to create my own styles.
I swear you need to do your own makeup line.
Absolutely. Okay? Work in progress.
Makeup by Dash. Tell girls you look dashing.
Makeup by Dash. Let's go.
Come on. You already got your slogan. But look, seriously, thank you so much for coming on the episode today.
Thanks for having me. This was so fun.
I know. I feel really thankful just to have you come on here and articulate things the way you did, because I know a lot of women just in general, I feel like in the process of just developing their own identity can mentally go hard on themselves, you know what I'm saying? Just to know that like accepting what makes them different, to realize that's what makes them unique, I think is such a powerful tool.
Yeah.
You articulate that so well. So thank you so much for coming on the episode today.
I appreciate you.
Make sure to go
Thanks
follow Veronika at Veronika Dash on her socials. It's just Veronika Dash everywhere, right?
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah. Go.
I claimed it
her.
all.
Go check her out. She got a lot of stuff coming up. And again, make sure to like and subscribe. This is the Inspire to Inspire podcast. We've been switching up the locations a little bit. Your boy moved. So, what I'm saying? We had to switch up the vibe, but we appreciate y'all tuning in. And that was a banger. Appreciate you.
Thank you.